Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
3, 2, 1. Check 1, check 2. This is it. We're doing it. The Cannabis Coffee Hour. Welcome, everybody, to the Cannabis Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Rob Cantrell. I have an exciting episode, a caffeinated episode. I'm going across the nation. I'm talking to a very funny, talented, musical motherfucker from Detroit, but he's in LA making dreams happen. Please give it up for Vince Avrill, everybody.
Rob, man, thank you so much for having me on here, dude. This is good. This is good times.
Dude, thank you for getting on here. Thank you for coming on. I love seeing your face. I love seeing the wallpaper. I did the Detroit hat. And then I did the intro. I'll just want to plug a couple things. Now, Vince just, in his youth, he ran a record label for hardcore music. And now has a new band in LA called Cross Control that just released a dope album. I was just pumping it. Get it on Spotify, mix it up in your bullshit, and fuck with it, because if you like hardcore, it's done really well. Congratulations, Vince. I listened to it, and I've recorded music myself, and just off the top, like, it sounds good. Like, this product that you made sounds really good.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, we linked up with a guy out here. You know, because I've been involved in hardcore for so long. When I got out here and wanted to try to do something, I just reached out to a buddy and was like, "Where's the spot to record?" And we went up to this house up by Magic Mountain Amusement Park, and the dude just knew what he was doing. It's like you know, when you go in a studio and you want to do a certain thing, if the person who's there either has no idea or doesn't care to help you, you're not going to be able to achieve what you're trying to do. And so this dude knew the kind of music we wanted to play and had done it himself, and so it just worked real good, you know.
Yeah, I know that situation. Making music, making a project, you have like an engineer. It's a lot like filmmaking with the directors and writers, and anything creative that you're dealing with other cats and egos. It gets tricky. So if you have somebody behind the spaceship that is cool and knows what he's doing, meaning the engineer, that was it a classic 4-track situation, or was it a kid with a laptop mini and a bunch of fucking chords going everywhere, like new school?
I think this guy, I mean, it was all computer, whatever. I don't know what program he was necessarily using, but it was a thing where I think some of the guitars we did, you know, ran through, like, we're running through a head, but not, you know what I mean? It wasn't a live situation in that way. But the other tricky part about being, you know, recording music when you're not, you don't have a huge budget or whatever, is sometimes you'll just get a person, if you're unlucky, who doesn't even give a shit. Yeah. Right? You've rented studio time, and they're just like, they're not really helpful at all in trying to like get what you're trying to do. But this guy was cool. It was in his house, and it was much more computer based.
How many songs did you bring, or did you just bring the one, like, hey, let's see if this thing fucking works? Can you do
so the song you're talking about is called Outrage Culture, which is the title track from the
Control. Everybody check it. Just another step, but I just listened to it, and the guitars did sound like Metallica. Like, I'm not saying it has a hardcore rhythmic, like it has that, but the guitar, I was just impressed how fucking juicy the shit sounded.
Yeah. So we did 6 songs that are on that record, and then since the quarantine, right before the quarantine, we did 2 more. We started to, instead of trying to record everything at once, we were going to just start recording sort of piecemeal until we got everything together. Yeah. So we had 2 other songs that, since the quarantine started, and it was like, we don't know what the fuck's going to happen, we've actually dropped those as well. I think one of them is on Spotify and the other one's on Bandcamp. But anyway, if you look up Cross Control LA, you can find it all. So I think there's like a total of 8 songs floating around in the universe at this time, you know.
Yeah, man, I dig the project, man. I'm proud of you. When I listened to it, I was just like, fuck yeah, grabbed this ball, stepped up, and knocked it out. That was your dream, to be a hardcore mother, you know? That music, yeah. I was talking to how I got, I mean, we've been friends. Vince started in Detroit comedy. But I
Yeah.
met you in New York, and you were
Mhm.
running a room close to the Lower East Side at this place called the Beauty Bar. And that's where we first met in New York doing stand-up.
Yeah.
And you were always cool. You have that, there's something about the Midwest. You're a Midwest
Yeah.
guy. You're not a pussy, but you are nice.
Yeah. You're
Uh,
nice, but not. I'm don't. I'm not going to get pushed around, but I am a nice
Don't
guy.
get pushed around. You might be in a hardcore band. You might have a cousin in ICP. You know, you
Yeah.
probably know how to work a butterfly knife if I gave it to you.
Yes.
But at the same time, whereas New York, they're just dicks.
Yeah.
No, they are.
Yeah.
I'm here. I love New York. I'm all about New York, and this is a whole different vibe. But I was just trying to paint a picture to everybody.
Yeah.
And then your career took you to LA, and you started in hardcore bands first, or was comedy?
Yeah. So I got into hardcore in like early high school. So 90, 91, something like that. And then when I graduated, I used the money from my graduation party to fund the first record I put out. So I was running a label. I wasn't actually making music at that time. So I was putting out records for a bit. And then I think in that time around when I was like, am I going to try to do comedy or try to do something? I don't want to have a real job. I then had my first band that I did called Beautiful New in like 2002. Well, actually there's a couple bands I did in that time period that are lost to the annals of time, but yeah. And so then it sort of went dark, and then I started putting out records again, sometimes for comics like Jesse Pop, or I did a Matt McCarthy thing, and Joe DeRosa I've done. And so then I started to do some more records. And so when I got to LA, I was like, fuck, man, I'm going to do a band. And so then I just started, hey, like, I know you do this. Do you want to try to link? And I was just like, we're just going to do a project. We'll just make a 7-inch.
Yeah.
But then of course you get in there and you start doing it and you're into it. And so then we only played a couple shows, but if this shit hadn't happened, I think we'd be rolling,
I think you're going to be rolling, dude. You're already rolling, my man. I think during this pandemic, anytime you're fucking waking up and you're alive and you don't got the 19, man, you're doing all right.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
and I think the project's dope. And you also have helped. And you've been doing this podcast with this other comedian, Matt McCarthy, who I also know. Who's more of an actor comedian, but he does some stand-up albums, and he's funky and funny, and he's into the dead. Check him out. But you guys do a podcast called We Listen to Wrestling, or
We Watch.
Yeah,
we watch wrestling. Yeah. So that
really hardcore if you listen to it. If you just went old school radio.
Yeah, right.
The top rope.
What's he doing now? I can't tell.
He's got a chair.
The headlock's just not the same when you can't see it.
Busting dudes with chairs still?
Oh yeah.
Chairs. Are they still cutting foreheads? Are they still?
You know what? That has gone away a bit. It still happens here and there on the fringes, but like the WWF, WWE, they kind of have naysayed it. So once in a great while, if it's like a dude who's got enough stroke that not going to get in trouble and he wants to do it, he'll blade. But otherwise, the blood is kind of gone.
Dusty Rose's second cousin is out there blading. Dusty must have fought him. Dusty had the gnarliest forehead. Okay, Vince, just to tell you my wrestling background.
Yeah.
First, I Greco-Roman wrestled since I was in the third grade, third in the state in Virginia. One of the top wrestling coaches lived across the street. That's how I know it. But also, I'm from the South, so it was Buena Vista. I was born in Washington, D.C., and then we moved. My dad died, and we moved down south to a small, hardcore, blue-collar town of 5,000 called Buena Vista, Virginia, which is in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I was born in 72. So this was about 84, 86, and we had the Superstation, TBS.
Ooh.
So what we had was what was called, and the kids won't know, but you will because you're a scholar. We had NWA, National Wrestling Association.
Alliance.
Tony Schiavone. What's his name?
Tony Schiavone.
Yes, Tony. I saw, like, they would show it every day. That's what people don't understand. The Superstation would show these clips, and it would be in Atlanta, and it was a small Southern regional wrestling that did most of the South and Florida, a little bit of Midwest, but it wasn't Hulk Hogan. I was raised on Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors, Thunder. What was that? What was their big thing? Thunder, Starcade. Was that
Starcade,
it?
yeah. Starcade, and they had Clash of Champions, and yeah.
I never fucked with Hulk Hogan. I thought it was, if it was like, if you're listening to East Coast rap or you're listening to some other shit, but would you say NWA, like that fucking era of wrestling, was that some of, I mean, that was some of the realest shit out there.
No, so here's my thing, right? In Detroit, like I never had cable. So we had like the UHF channels. And so on channel 50 on Saturday morning, you would get WWF Superstars.
Yes.
And so one day I forget to turn the TV off and fucking NWA comes on, which I didn't even know I got. And it was like, you know, it was like WWF was Poison. And then all of a sudden it was like Slayer or something. It was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it was high end. It was high end art, man. People don't understand. Like, this was some of the best monologues, drama,
but it was so much grittier.
Television.
Like WWF was this slick hair metal, and this was fucking dirty floor. But the wrestling was better. The guys were realer. And like you say, dude, the promos.
Ric Flair could talk better shit. People from the South could talk shit. So they would talk crazy shit, and they would have this redneck background. So you have like a fat ass like Dusty Rhodes, but he would have the best chicks, and the crowd would be going crazy for him. And it was always bloody. I remember the cutting of the forehead, and they would have these black and white wrestling magazines, and how the images looked so graphic and gnarly. Like, if you were into horror movies, and we all were as kids, like you go through a horror phase or you go through this phase. Some people grow into it, some people grow out of it. I went through I went through a wrestling phase, went through a horror phase, a Soldier of Fortune phase, nunchuck phase. I did all that shit.
Fuck man.
Yeah. But yeah, I grew up on Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and the American Dream. I'm trying to think if I could do a good Ric Flair right now. Like, let me tell you something, Tony Schiavone.
Well, dude, listen. So my favorite thing ever, and this is from that time period, you may or may not remember it, but there's a period where Harley Race puts a bounty on Ric Flair's head for like 10 grand or 15 grand or something. And Cowboy Bob Orton and Dick Slater, they take the money and they beat the shit out of Ric Flair and put him out. And so he's gone, and he's at his house in a neck brace talking about, I may have to retire from the greatest sport in the world. I can't believe this. I'm the only thing I ever wanted to do in my life, and now I'm fucked. And then there's one of those Saturday shows where those Slater and fucking Orton are in the ring, and all of a sudden the crowd starts going apeshit because here comes Flair. Still got the neck brace on, but he's got it.
I remember the shit.
He's got an aluminum bat that says Skull, right? Like the fucking tobacco on it.
Oh, bandit.
Just misses him. They fucking powder. He gets up onto the stage where Bob Caudle is, and he cuts a promo that will still bring a tear to my eye. He is fucking flipping out. He rips off the neck brace. He's like, oh, it's
the
art.
bigger the moment he would shine, and the bigger the drama, if there was even if it made him look bad, Ric Flair made it look intense. Even if it made him look like a loser, Ric Flair would go that extra notch to make it just so entertaining.
Yeah.
And I remember like somebody was cheering. He was making fun of the girls, like even these ugly girls like me. He's like talking to the crowd. He's so obnoxious, so alpha male, like the most key, like, all these Jesselneck, whatever you want to do. Nobody's fucking Ric Flair if you want to know, like, somebody that you just hated for being so pretty and so good, you know? Yeah.
And he knew it was a show to the point where every time you saw him, he would always do his signature stuff. He'd do the flip over the turnbuckle out on the floor.
Knew what the fans
take the backdrop. He's like, they paid to see Ric Flair. I'm going to fucking, I'm not trying new shit tonight.
Yeah. The walk, he had this strut. When he would do it, he'd do this strut. Yeah, Ric Flair, may be one of the best entertainers of all time. Like in my book, I've been watching a lot of Jackie Gleason, a lot of Rodney Dangerfield, but Ric Flair,
he's up there.
He's up there, dude. I'm talking Pacino. I'm talking fucking De Niro, Ric Flair. If you put him in a room with George C. Scott, man, it's Yeah. So it was like about 7 years ago. When I first moved out here,
another comic you may remember, Tom Sibley.
Mhm.
He wanted to start a podcast with Matt, and Matt was like, well, I don't know what the fuck I'd even talk about every week. And then he was like, probably just wrestling, but I'm not going to do it without Vince, because we were already sort of linked in our wrestling fandom. And so we've just been doing it nonstop since. And we've been able to go to so many shows because of it, go to WrestleMania in New York, go here, see this. It's been awesome, dude. Yeah.
I love it, Vince. You've carved yourself out. Like, you've literally gone towards your loves in life, which is so awesome. Like, I just know, like, I know you love stand-up, but I also know I have a vibe. I think you love hole-in-the-wall bars.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. You kidding me?
You love, what are they called? What's a hole in the wall? What are they called?
It's a dive bar.
Yeah, you are a dive bar loving motherfucker. Like a pack of Camel Lights.
No, I don't smoke. I never smoked a cigarette.
You never smoked? Well, I used to, and I know that. I used to, and I know that vibe. I don't even fuck with that vibe anymore. But I know there's some beauty to a shitty ass dive bar. I was thinking about this because I don't even hang out that much. But the work vibe, but I did hang out in bars growing up in DC and shit. Right. But an ice cold bottled Budweiser and a pack of smokes and music, a beer buzz with music.
Yeah, like, oh my God.
That first, like just when you're starting to get the buzz and you're kind of talking with your friends, and then the music. I think that's what I always liked. And then a little bit of TV. There's a conversation going on over here. It's all warm. You look around and you're like, everybody's as drunk as I am. And then there's like this warm feeling to it all.
I think sometimes people don't because I'm always like, I want a dark bar that's not very crowded, you know? So it's like, I'm not looking for a party per se, but I am looking for a vibe, Yeah.
Do you like the TV on in the bar?
It doesn't always matter to me, except that now having a TV on means it's probably like 60 inches or whatever. And so it does sort of change it a little bit, but I'm not adverse to TV in the bar like some people are, but it just depends. Cause I don't want a fucking, a movie screen, necessarily.
Are you a sports dude?
I like sports. Yeah.
I'll rock. You have a Detroit.
Yeah.
It's not the Lions.
Tigers,
yes.
Yeah.
It is a dope emblem though. The Detroit Tigers has that's a dope hat. I mean,
the old English D.
The D and the lettering, the font is done really. I like font, and that's a good font on that D. Yeah.
Well, dude, and to your point about me, it's like the same thing I said when I was talking about, doing bands and trying to find not having a regular job.
That's
but I think that's it. It's obviously gotten me to an incredible place in my life. But I think when I was going real hard, grinding on the stand-up, it hurt me because I didn't have, I think the idea is you're supposed to be like, well, I'm doing this because I want to write a script, or I want to tour the country, or I want to do this or that. And I just never had that. But I just kept doing that because I like to do it. And then I would do podcasts, or I would do a record, or and the fact that I had done a label in this stuff put me in a position. My wife, she has a gigantic podcast, My Favorite Murder. So once they started touring, I was able to become their tour manager, and not because I was the husband, but because I had tour managed, so
you've been in all these rock clubs, the dingy scene, there's going to be one guy that handles the money. The sound guy is going to be kind of high and a dick because the band didn't make it. The bartender, you better be nice to and tip out because he's the one that knows what's going on.
It's but I like this morning I was talking to a buddy in Michigan. I'm like, I'm going to record this podcast. He's like, dude, you don't seem to stop. Like, you're just every day you're trying to do whatever, that's what you got to do, man. You got to stay after it.
You got to go. I think you're doing everything right. And you're right. Stand up is tricky. I've been doing it 20 years in a row. That's why the pandemic hasn't hit me, because there was some years that I was like, shit, man, I've been doing this so fucking long and grinding it in not the best situations, but I also been at the top of the mountain too. Like, I toured with Tracy Morgan for the last year and a half and flew on the private jets and did the big shows and did that. But I've also grinded it out in New York and all these rooms, and the club scene is so weird and tricky that it is a mental fuck you. It'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
and the thing about writing, this pandemic has helped me with meditation, and I've been listening to this philosopher Lao Tzu. It's the Book of the Way, and it's all pacifism. It's pretty much like pure pacifism. And I've been doing these 5 Tibetan stretches every morning, and just getting in the present. Whereas stand-up, you're always geared in the future.
Yeah.
And it's to the point of madness. And I know that place really well, but you don't have to ride it forever. And it's always there, like once you figure out how to do stand-up, I don't know, for me, I'm like, I can go back to it. So now I'm psyched to be doing this podcast. I've been having a blast. Thank you for everybody listening, watching, and supporting this podcast, the Cannabis Coffee Hour. It's the stuff I like. I love coffee. I love weed. I love talking shit with cool people. So yeah, I'm going, what my head was getting at was I want to write a book. I want to do I have so many great goals and shit. But the thing about writing, I wanted to talk about this with Dan Curry, but the thing about writing is you're not present. Like with writing, you are thinking other places. Like you're thinking, you're never really present. And I know being present is when kind of the pressure drops. As Toots the Maytals would say, pressure drop.
Yeah.
That vibe when the pressure, that's where I live. I live in the pressure drop, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So it's like with my new thing is just being content. Like being content, being whole, filling the circle, like then shit will come towards you. And I've been finding my way with that.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like, one, if you're not content and happy and where you want to be at, it doesn't matter how far up you get on the mountain, you're still going to be in that same place.
Yeah. It's still going to drive you crazy. Yeah.
Right. It'll never be enough. It'll never be this. It'll never be that. If you're not in the right space, it like you're thinking, that's the other thing I think that you get tricked on is just like, oh, well, if I just get to here, or if I just am able to live here, or
if I just had that, I would be doing this. Like, instead of being like, look at what I got.
Right. Which is the same.
Like, oh, I can do a Zoom with my boy Vince that, he's done some cool shit. I'm sure the conversation's going to be dope, instead of like paying 20,000 for an algorithm and trying to get your most famous, just like all this easy shit. If you go towards what you dig,
And that's the thing too, dude. Like, if you think about the shit you've done that you just did because you wanted to do it and you're like, maybe people will be into it. I know I'm into it. Those are the things that usually generate, something for you, whatever you register success as. I feel like it's those things that you just do purely out of interest and want, instead of being like, well, this seems like it's happening now. Should I try to do something like that? That's the shit that don't go like that,
Yeah, like part of me is like, oh, Rob, you got to work your social media. But I got this pack of notebooks. I got a stack, like 20 old notebooks. What I really want to do is just get high and go through these notebooks and put them into this one notebook.
But the blessing and the curse.
Coffee. But I am going to do that. And guess what? I'm looking forward to doing that. Yeah. But I also am writing. I've done 2 hip hop projects, and I'm putting them together, and they're not on Spotify. None of this material's on Spotify. So I have to figure out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing now. And there is a record label that's talking to me, and I want to do a couple new tracks for the joint. But writing music, like did you write all the lyrics for Cross Control?
I did. But also I'd be down to talk to you about if I can help in any way and getting that shit onto the streaming services. We'll talk about that after, but
yeah, totally. I'm just been picking everybody's brain.
Yeah.
And there's so many, like, everybody's complaining about showbiz, but showbiz, like, it's just a different ball game, dude. It is just a different ball game.
The blessing and the curse of it is there is no one way. And that's the mind fuck when someone gets some success and then tries to tell you, well, this is how you do it because it's how I did it. It's like, no, because every day someone else wakes up and figures out a different way. And the thing is, that's why you never quit, because there's so many ways and so many things to do that you don't need to fucking involve yourself in the bullshit. But anyway, yeah.
No, but you're right, man. It's because everything is always constantly changing, because you think, oh, my situation sucks now. But what I'm learning is just to sit still and let if you sit still long enough, you could get to your real self, your true self, your more natural self, and make decisions from there. But
Yeah.
society and music, and especially the news right now, it's fucking hard with all the political stuff and everything. It's like, it's hard to even get to a point where your mind can settle, but that's where it's all at.
It's a fine line between remaining informed and not being infected, right? Where you're just like, I know what's going on, but I don't have to spend like, I can allow myself 15 minutes right now to go to the places I trust so that I at least know what's happening, but then I got to get out, you know, like,
because I'll just go down and down. And then, that what they say is like, you can either see, you know, Led Zeppelin's been talking about this a lot. And I just think I got to it. It is like, there is what there is and what there will be.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
Yeah.
So there is what there is right now. And there's going to be what there's going to be. But really, the rest is just bullshit. You know, it's all manifestations. I guess what I'm talking about, like, you could be like you watch a bunch of Trump shit and then you dream about fighting with your other Trumpy friend that was giving you something on social media. And then you, all of a sudden you have this whole manifestation scenario going on in your head. And you're doing that for 2 hours when you could have just been making some music or making some chili or doing some shit.
I feel like you're talking about this is crazy, but there's a Cross Control song called Imaginary Conflict that's exactly about that. When you have these fucking knockdown, drag out battles in your mind that are for nothing, they serve nothing. And I think the place that I always try to get to, which is a very difficult place, is only worrying about the shit you can control.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a fucking hard thing to do. But that's the place I aspire to be, you know?
That's the place I aspire to be. I've been doing my breathing and I know I can control that. So I've been into that. And you can control your reactions. And as you get older, and what I'm learning, like I do have a temper and I'll pop off. And it's never gotten me anywhere. It's only set me back.
Yeah.
So I am a chill dude, but yeah, just how I react to shit, you know?
Yeah.
Not panicking, not freaking out, not going negative, not going jealous right away. Like learning just to observe and not put yourself in it.
Right.
You know, just to watch it.
Yeah. And that's the other phenomenon of stand-up that always blew me out, is like, it's such a singular thing. And the singular part is what drew me to it. But then once you're there, everyone couldn't be more concerned about everyone else, even though it's never about anybody but you, you know?
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it is weird. It's a really trippy thing, stand-up comedy, and I do love it. But what I'm learning in life as you get older, if you live in your head too long, it's gonna go wrong, man.
Yeah.
You gotta sit on the porch and spit some watermelon seeds, man. You
open the blinds at least.
Yeah. You got to close the blinds a little bit, man. But when you write lyrics, because I've written lyrics and I am meticulous. I'm not freestyle. I can freestyle. I think that's a muscle, an improv muscle, but I was never really an improv cat to begin with. I do like the isolation of sitting in a room by myself and writing words out and playing with words. Is that what you do with writing lyrics? Like, let's,
Yeah. So what typically will happen is, you know, we get together and we play, and so as the guitar and the bass and the drums are coming together, I sort of begin to just make noises, not actual words, you know, to kind of figure out like how it should sound.
Yes.
And then I sort of go back and I look at, you know, what I want to say, and I then try to fill those noises with words, you know. But I think in hardcore too, at least for me, there are sort of like, you know, tropes and topics that are sort of always covered. And while I don't want to like be the hardcore band that's you know, completely out of left field talking about nothing. I do try to like tend to stay a little more personal and not do the like you stab me in the back or like, you know, fuck, like very very like over the head. Like
how fun is it to talk punk rock with Dan Curry?
right. Yeah, me and DC, we chop it up every once in a while
Dan
because
Curry,
yeah.
I remember talking to him because he talks about hardcore music, and I can talk about it. I never was in a hardcore band, but I knew Minor Threat. I grew up in DC. I knew
oh yeah, Discord. Yeah.
I know my friend Nico dated Ian MacKay's sister. Like I remember I was born in 72, so my older brother was six, like those are all those kids. And I know that neighborhood they're from. I'm from Capitol Hill, which is a little bit more black of a neighborhood. We were more into hip hop and go-go. But parents read books too. It was a weird, and DC's not big money, so it's all like government, so it's like middle class, not much to do. But yeah, that whole Fugazi and Minor Threat, I remember all that shit kind of popping off. And,
dude, how good is Go-Go?
And Go-Go is the best music on earth, man. Go-Go is from outer space, man.
And I can't believe that is Go-Go is a music from Washington D.C. It is like a creation of that place.
20 on Spotify, and I got some Go-Go. I got this song called Exodus, but War Exodus. It is the most trippy, like 20-minute go-go jam, and they're doing space sounds over. But if they're just in go-go, if anybody knows, is like 5 percussion drummers. It's a funky groove. It's not a boom bat beat. It's a boom, boom. It's like a whole other African fucking. It's
a specific beat, right? Go-go is
like
it's
a regular, like a hip hop beat is this. Go-go beats just like.
Yeah, it's its own thing. But and also amazing that, like, you know, the reason I know about Go-Go is because of like Discord and Minor Threat and Ian MacKay, because those guys they would play shows together.
And they learned a lot from them, because go-go music never went beyond but they created their own scene, and they had it was like the stand-up scene. Like they had nightly nights. Every week was this band at this place, this band was this place, and they made real money. They put out tapes. People would play them in their cars. Everybody was into it. And it was kind of like jam band music. It was great to have a little bit of a buzz at night in DC. And listen to go-go music is one of the best fucking things it's just a cool, unique, cooler than hip hop sound, but in the morning it could be kind of rough.
Time and place, man.
Fallon, he talked about how go-go can be obnoxious. Do you know the band Clutch?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, so he was on the podcast. I got him on the podcast, and I talked to him about go-go music. But he had you can't listen to go-go in the morning.
Clutch is amazing to me because, you know, that band has been 6 different bands, and that's total respect to me. That like I'm talking about, they're like, we want to do something else now. We want to try this, and it's like, even though they have all these people who are like, I like Clutch is this. They're like, well, we can't fucking stay in this box for you. We got to do what we got to do, you know? And so Clutch is like had some of their records just sound completely different than any other, you know, that's
always evolving. And and how much he cranks out. Like, it's just hard work, man. Those guys stuck it together, and to keep a band that together that long is crazy. But yeah, that's one of those American, and they come from, the hardcore scene that you guys came from.
Yeah, I remember Clutch coming through and playing. Like there was this place called the Grounds Coffee House that was on University of Detroit's campus, and that for a little period of time, that was the spot where all the shows happened, that and one other place. And I remember Clutch came and played, you know, one of the shows there, and then the next thing you know, Clutch is like this whole other thing, you know, like on a whole other level. But did you ever
live in Detroit? Like when you were running the label, did you have your own apartment, or were you at your parents' place? Were you a young adult, or were you just you're at your parents' place kind of putting some, but running a label, like you got to file shit. You got to get a lawyer. You got to
not in those days of hardcore, man. It's so funny, because when I came back to it, things had changed so drastically, because in those days, especially in hardcore, right? Like so first of all, I graduated high school and went to college, so I never lived at home when I did the label, I was either in my dorm room like Rick Rubin, or I had a house off campus or apartment or whatever. But in those days, like, you know, if you put something out and you got a good review in Maximum Rock and Roll or some other bigger zine, that just meant it was going to be good, popular, and then you could sell, you know, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 copies or something. And there was no, if you had samples on there, like, it was so underground, there was no barcode on it, like, so there wasn't any concern of like, in fact, like, one of the records I put out, I did the first run of it, and then I had a falling out with the band itself, and they, you know, this was the closest it got to, like, they were like, we want to take it to this other label. I'm like, okay. They're like, give us the plates. And I'm like, well, what I do know litigiously is that I paid for the recording. So those recordings are mine. The songs are yours, but the recordings are mine. So you either got to re-record the song. And ultimately I gave them the plates, but it was like, that's the closest it ever came to being a thing where it's like, what's going to go down.
Look,
but
it's all about the masters. Like, it's crazy. Bob Dylan just sold 300 million for all of his masters. And that's what I love about podcasting and putting out this music project. And I've been living off a lot of royalties from my stand-up albums, like making money in your sleep. That's the gig. And you can do that with music. Ian MacKaye became a millionaire just from getting the royalties of, you know, maybe a band that lasted 3 years in DC, but wanted to go on Discord, but he treated them fairly, but he made sure all the paperwork was done. And, you know, he had, what are all those things? BAM? What's the rights joints?
Oh, the like ASCAP and all that stuff.
You got to get your sound exchange and you got to get your ASCAP in together.
Well, you know what's funny is the
ASCAP'd up. Were you sound exchanged up?
You know what's funny is, like,
did you get your 10 cents?
I heard Ian talking about, you know, he found out that, like, every Sunday at RFK or whatever, they're playing Waiting Room or one of the Fugazi songs, like, during the Redskins games.
Yeah.
So he called ASCAP, and they effectively were like, you're not really big enough for us to worry about. Like, basically they're doing something they should be paying you for, but we don't fucking care, kind of thing. Like, he just got, like, brushed off. It's like, if it's not, you know, Gary Glitter, then why are you calling us? You know, like,
we will rock you.
Right. Yeah.
But I bet he ended up getting it. He doesn't seem like a dude that fucks around.
Right. No, I mean, the other story is when, you know, there's the old
Nike too.
That's what I was going to say. There's a, that cover of his brother on the steps with his head down from the One Minor Threat, and Nike Skate used it in something, but he called him up and he was like, you know, this is fucked up. But what he wanted was balls and equipment for DC schools. He didn't want money from them. And so they were like, we got to call you back. Like, we don't even know how to like how to do this, you know?
Yeah. It's a big multi-million-dollar corporation and he's asking for charity work. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want a check from you for this. I just want you to do this, you know? So it was like a whole thing, I guess, but
that's dope, man. That is dope.
Yeah.
But as things change and, you know, it's just like the rights to music is very powerful. You know, if you get one song into fucking into a commercial, or like, dude, what did the Black Keys just cleaned up? Like, they just that album, and then they just sold the rights to every song to the top.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything really that bad about it, because you gotta, as I've been in showbiz long enough, you're lucky if you got the heat, you know, you're lucky. You're fucking lucky if especially as a musician, if you get to play music for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, that's a gift, you know?
Well, I do think, I mean, since I've been doing some more comedy records, I mean, Sound Exchange, because when I came into that from music, I was like, oh, holy shit. Like, this Sound Exchange thing is like how a lot of not a lot, but some comics I know, like, make most of their nut, because they actually fucking take care of people
for a good 3 years. And I was with a label, and the label folded, and they gave me the rights. And then some road comic told me to sign up for Sound Exchange, and I did it. And then it was 3 years later, but all of a sudden I got like a 10 grand, like, it was like, it wasn't crazy money, but it was like, holy fuck. Like, yeah, I know a lot of people that went that route, but now
but
it's
if you can,
a little
like,
saturated.
when you get your record out at first, if you fucking, make sure you go through those channels so that Sirius has it and is going to play it, that, yeah, it's like, but it's amazing to me that, because I feel like musically those things exist, but for whatever reason, you like with comedy, I think if you have enough bits stacked up, at least for a bit, or for a little while, when your record comes out, you can make some good money,
Yeah.
Whereas with music, the streams, oddly enough, Apple pays better than Spotify, but it's nowhere close. It's like you're getting pennies on the fucking dollar.
That's what I'm hearing is like, and yeah, I got a cousin. My cousin had a kid, but she is a singer songwriter in Nashville and awesome. She's from Charlottesville, Virginia.
Mhm.
And I looked at her on Spotify and I didn't know she was blowing up, but she had a song over 1 million, and I was like, holy shit. But then she was writing a blog complaining about how little money she got from that 1 million streams. Like, she's just like 28 or 26 or whatever. It's still, she's not out of the fucking, she's still got to grind,
No, I mean, Spotify it's that they're pure evil as far as paying people for their art. Like, it's there. Spotify is not a great place to do that. But
yeah, the whole thing, I was talking to another cat, Mookie Thompson. You should meet with him because he plays drums in hardcore bands, and he's putting out, like, I think, a hardcore project. And we did a short film project called PMA, which is all, bad brains, positive mental health, which I'm 100% about.
Hell yeah.
But we were talking about hip hop now, dude. You know what you do in hip hop now? Like, you literally just make a video and then you pay World Star $5,000. It's just $5,000.
Okay.
And then they put it up and it goes boom. Like, it can go boom, but that's what they're all doing. It's like payola.
Wow. It's like, so it's $5,000 for the opportunity, and maybe it goes boom or maybe it doesn't, but you got to do it to have a shot.
Yeah, that's like being on Hot 97 back in the day.
Wow.
But it just takes cash. Like, back in the day, you needed some A&R dudes giving people blow. You needed to know. But now it's just like, I will Venmo you $5,000 and you put my video on MTV it's pretty much MTV for if you want to do it
for the audience that you're trying to reach.
I don't like seeing violence. I don't like seeing fights. I don't like seeing other people suffer. I've never been into that jackass type of I respect some of it, but when you start fucking with people's bubble, and I know how sensitive mentally people are, like, you might mess with them. Yeah.
Even fail videos, like I don't even just see anybody like slip on the ice. It's just not. It doesn't bring me any entertainment or joy.
I guess sometimes if I see a friend bust his ass and I know he's all right, it's funny.
Yeah. Right. But I don't need to watch a TV of people I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, that dude might have fucking had a brain aneurysm from that punch. I don't want to see that shit.
No. That's wild, man. Because it's tantamount to like paying the radio station to play your song. It's so weird, but
because the whole game is just, and I think Drake figured it out, and I think, but it's also cool, like music production. Like, I've been making beats. It's just like, it's fascinating what you can do these days from your fucking bedroom, dude.
For real, yeah. And more than that, it's like you could always maybe have your little 4-track. But then all you got's a tape that you either got, it's like now you can, I could make a song right now and just put it out to the world essentially, in the next hour, it's
I know.
Craziness.
And you had to be so organized and so diligent back in the day and get a band together and get along and have a place to rehearse. And now the dude that makes the beats for the big group, The Weeknd, does it on his iPhone.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm old man Winter over here, dude.
But I believe art is just vibe. So you can have the best. I kind of like that. I think that's punk rock if you're making beats on your phone and fucking making big ass sounding beats and making it for mainstream. I think that's punk rock as shit. I think what punk rock and hardcore taught me, it's not the most beautiful music in the world, but it has an aesthetic and awesome. But it definitely teaches you to be like, you don't have to be perfect and work with what you got, and it's more about the energy. It's more about the energy. So if the energy is right and the timing is there, like, you can make anything sound funkin'.
And it is that thing too, though, where different people are going to be drawn to it for different reasons. I've never understood the people who came to punk or hardcore because it's like, well, this just means I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like I can just punch you in the face, or I can fucking, because that's what it is. Where it's like, I come to it from a place of like, yeah, it is. You can do what you want, but that's the special part. And that's, you're supposed to use it for the powers of good. You're supposed to, create something positive out of it, because there is a lot of like, there is some meatheadism, or there is, just differing opinions of what it is.
Everything's got dark energy. Everything, even hippies. You ever met some evil hippies? There's evil hippies out there, dude. You go up to Humboldt, man. Have you seen Murder Mountain? Shit goes down. These guys are listening to Pink Floyd all day, and they'll cut your cat open.
Oh my god.
God. But hardcore music, yeah, there is that chaos, but it is a working man. It's like, it's almost like militia music, because you just gotta grab and go. But I believe in rebellion. I read this book called Must You Conform really early on, and I think rebellion is about evolution. It's just how like white blood cell, like the whole fucking thing. But there's good rebellion and then there's bad rebellion, So bad rebellion is blowing shit up, making fun, being mean. But good rebellion is making some sounds that nobody else is doing, maybe talking some stuff that nobody else is talking, and putting it in a format, that you think is cool, is like good rebellion.
Yeah, getting sporting good equipment for the schools instead of taking a check,
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, where do you land politically? Like politically, I've been trying not to be political on this podcast, and I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to go there. But the one thing I like about Democrats, I mean, I would say I'm a Democrat. My dad was a hardcore Democrat. Maybe that's why I am that way. That's why I don't judge the Trumpers. I try not to have a versus mentality going forward.
Yeah,
because good people do bad shit, bad people do good shit. It's just fucking the gig. But when I look at Democrats, I do like funding public schools so they have some music instruments, and so they have science class. And I do like the Democrats because you're funding schools, and healthcare. I think people should have healthcare. That's my basic fucking reason for being down with them anyway, is because I think weed should be legal, and they've always been more lenient than the Republican Party, even though I think both of them don't give a fuck, and the money's right on the table, and they're dumb if they don't make a move for it. But I guess just like, dude, I just think schools and I think music is important, and because people are creative, the creative minds out there, and if they don't have it, I've seen people destroy themselves, if they haven't learned how to deal with their creative mind.
For sure. Yeah. I generally want what's best, and it's I would say out of necessity I am a Democrat, but like you say, there's dark energy in everything, and so obviously the Democrats are not clean, but it is closer to where I would like to be.
I don't need Nazis marching in Charlottesville. That never happened when I was coming up. So when I saw that, I was like, man, this is fucking whack. And
what's funny, man? I always thought if we had, like, because the Republicans and Democrats for so long, I thought they're so similar. I was like, if somebody came along and was like fucking super right-wing crazy, it would sort of shift and realign things. But instead, to a left lean, I thought, like once people are like, holy shit, then it would be like, okay, here's who we are and who we're not. And instead, it's sort of, again, it's one of those things where you're looking at the internet, so who knows completely what the real data is. But it feels like when that happened, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, that's closer to where we should be. Fucking goose stepping in the street, and you're like, oh no, that's fucked up.
I know, man. But I do believe in humanity, and I do believe people are good, and I do love life, and I'm lucky. Yeah, I just try not to buy into it all.
Yeah,
and it bums me out that everybody's so split right now.
Yeah,
and going forward, like it sucks. It just sucks. But I guess there's important issues people got to fucking deal with. But with hardcore music, I will say, just to switch up thing, I did read an article that they said aggressive, like loud guitars is good for your brain.
Oh,
I think there's something that goes on there. Like you're doing something that's good for your brain. You listening to that music and then writing lyrics and writing that beat. That's what I wanted to talk about. Like when you say you shout sounds, you're pretty much, when you do music, you listen to a beat or a vibration and you try to add something that fits in there that makes sense.
Yeah, it could, because the thing is, it's not, I'm obviously not creating a melody per se, right? I'm just adding another
Tone.
beat or tone, right? So it is like what's, how should, what's the cadence, what's the inflection, or so it is essentially, it is a beat that you then are sorting out. So then you have to figure out, if like what you're able to say within the confines of that beat, but that's the process. And sometimes I feel like, just like anything else, I'm doing my homework right up till, like, it's like, damn, we've been working on these songs for 6 months and we're going to the studio tomorrow. Why are you still working on this last song or whatever? But that's just the nature of homework sometimes, or whatever it is, I guess. Man. But
no, I totally get what you're saying, because I've written raps. I sit down, but I can tell it. Yeah, I got the page filled, but I can tell it's fucking whack. Like I could tell it's not right. I could tell it needs to get reworked. Like I'm like, this thing needs to get there's like 5 or 7 things that just sit awkward in the track, and I need to fucking like comb it out and comb it out and comb it out until it sits in there.
Yep.
And create. But the same thing with scripts. Like you could shit something out, but then you look at it a year later, like, man, with writing just is just a long ass process, Right.
But there is a value to shitting it out, because then by shitting it out, you have put it out. And so now you're able to have it. And you know what I mean? Like there's a value to not holding it. You have
what is, but now you manifested the next what is. Before you didn't create it, there was nothing. So at least you made it what it is. And then it needs to get refined. And I think that's what everything's like, realignment. That's what I've found in life as I get older, is like, oh, I didn't have it right, but if I just tweak it a little bit here, if I just, if I just keep on realigning everything, then run smooth. And you can tell when the shit is smooth. You can tell when it's done. That's something I've gotten good. Are you good with letting go of it? Like you're like, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
I am. But the other thing about at least music is that once it's laid down, short of you being like, this is, I must go back and do the vocals again. Like, but generally, because sometimes I've said this before.
That's true. Sometimes the equipment isn't good, or the engineers sucked and it's tinny. But I would say everybody check out Cross Control. You guys, the sound quality, just everything, just fucking, if this was a car, it's a lean, mean fucking muscle car, shined up, waxed out with with the trill and the frill, maybe a Firebird on the fucking hood.
But I will say to that last point, sometimes a deadline is better than money. Sometimes having an endpoint that's like you're working toward, is having that as your, the thing that drives you is very valuable.
It is valuable. I do that with acting. I'm trying to act more, and I'm going out on auditions, but I was never a drama kid. Mm-hmm. So, but I will know, like, oh, I got to turn this shit next week. Like there comes that day before, like, oh, I'll make a character right now. I'm Mr. Hand Dude, But sometimes that's just the funniest thing. That's the only thing. Like one time I sold something to Howard Stern. This is true. And dude, it was like 10 ideas, and it was for a web series. And I laid into the first 3. The first 3, I literally like sweat. I said, this is fucking Shakespeare. And my last idea was like fake lotto ticket, like just a dumb fucking idea. And I did it 10 seconds right before I turned it in. Guess which one they bought. The fake lotto ticket for like, 2,000. It was like 2,000. It was like 2 G's. It made my rent that month. Like, but it was like a bullshit throwaway,
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Sometimes you just you don't know. So you just got to fucking put it out. You got to do it. You got to try, and because you don't know.
Oh, that's
You
the
don't
truth,
know.
Vince. Vince Avrill, thank you so much for being on the Cannabis Coffee Hour. I loved catching up with you. You got great wallpaper. You got a great album. You got a great podcast. You got a great vibe. I love you, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. This was super fun. And for real, get at me about getting your shit streaming. I'm happy to try to give you some ideas or help you in any way.
Yeah, let's talk after. I'm going to put the stop button here, and then we'll catch up in a second. All right. Peace out, everybody. Be good.